Here's where they're going to go with this. When this thing fails in the Senate, this impeachment farce, which it will, they will be humiliated in the Senate. They'll probably lose some Republicans on the House side, too, who will vote against the articles of impeachment themselves. They're going to say what, Joe? He just told you. They're going to say, You see what happened, folks? Donald Trump beat the system again. And look what happened. He's already asked the Russians for help. Not true. He asked the Ukrainians for help. Not true. Now the 2020 election is compromised because we don't know, Joe, behind the scenes, who else he asked for help with in winning in 2020. Please tell me you're tracking this, because this is exactly where this is going. Now, I suggested to you before, I'm hearing from my sources, that their next Donald Trump colluded with fill in the blank. Remember, the first it was Russians, fake story. Then it was Ukrainians, fake story. The next one is going to be Turkey, and I'm not talking about gobble gobble. I'm talking about the country Turkey. That's coming next. Get ready. Get ready. And the narrative post-2020 election, if President Trump wins re-election, which I'm going to talk about some polls in a little while too. It'll be in the show notes today as well. Devastating swing state polls. If he wins re-election, Joe, immediately, the day after, just like they did last time, we will see in the liberal activist Washington Post and their fake news compadres over at the New York Times, you will see stories about, is this legitimate? Who did he collude with now? Remember, they've gone full Pravda. I want you to be prepared. This is video of President Obama himself suggesting that Jerry Nadler, Schiff, and the hapless Democrats' new hypothesis, fake hoax, that the 2020 election is going to be compromised too because President Trump colluded with a foreign government and it decimated our electoral integrity. This is two clips of President Obama in the Rose Garden before the 2016 election suggesting that any suggestion that someone could compromise our elections, foreign governments, is a total, complete hoax. And here's clip number one. If you don't accept the results of what Obama is swearing are our legitimate elections, you are in fact the problem. You'd think he'd be lecturing Jerry Nadler right now. Check out cut one, Barack Obama telling the Democrats essentially right now how crazy they are for fighting the integrity of our elections. Check this out.
One of the great things about America's democracy is we have a vigorous, sometimes bitter political contest. And when it's done, historically, regardless of party, the person who loses the election congratulates the winner, reaffirms our democracy, and we move forward. That's how democracy survives, because we recognize that there's something more important than any individual campaign, and that is making sure that the integrity and trust in our institutions sustains itself, because democracy by definition works by consent, not by force. I have never seen in my lifetime or in modern political history any presidential candidate trying to discredit the elections and the election process before votes have even taken place. It's unprecedented.
You just saw it. Is Obama going to revise that statement? Are we going to get a public statement from now former President Barack Obama condemning Jerry Nadler? You understand? That's Obama. I did not mess with that. That is a continuous thought cut only for time, not for content. That is Barack Obama himself suggesting that if you don't accept the results, that you are anti-democratic. Quote, this is how democracy survives. Yet Jerry Nadler is already suggesting, as Obama said, I've never seen it. I've never seen this before an election, ever. Questioning the results of an election before, I've never seen it. He just did it. Your liberal friends now, because they have zero, a donut for principles, none, cannot explain that away. how their leader, their golden calf, Barack Obama, the Messiah, a messianic figure for them, how before the election they spoke with one symbiotic voice that our election process is sacred, questioning it is anti-democratic, questioning it will imperil our democracy. This is how democracy survives, Joe, accepting elections. What kind of an idiot questions an election? As Obama's words, before a vote is even cast, what kind of a moron does that? The answer is Jerry Nadler, that kind of a moron. It gets worse. I was going to make this one big segment, but Joe always said, general rule he always tells me here, being a radio, we shouldn't make them more than a minute and a half each. People, after even Obama's, heresy here, you'll lose interest. So I cut it into two. Here's the second part. It's about a minute long, where Obama suggests even worse, that even the suggestion that elections are rigged is really the hallmark of an imbecile. Again, completely ignoring the fact at the time that his own party was about to do the same thing. He knew it, by the way. He was knee-deep in Spygate. Check this out, Obama, part 2. This is golden. This is great. Check this out.
It happens to be based on no facts. Every expert, regardless of political party, regardless of ideology, conservative or liberal, who has ever examined these issues in a serious way, will tell you that instances of significant voter fraud are not to be found, that, keep in mind, elections are run by state and local officials, which means that there are places like Florida, for example, where you've got a Republican governor who's a Republican appointees are going to be running and monitoring a whole bunch of these election sites. The notion that somehow if Mr. Trump loses Florida, it's because of those people that you have to watch out for, that is both irresponsible and, by the way, doesn't really show the kind of leadership and toughness that you'd want out of a president. If you start whining before the game's even over, if whenever things are going badly for you and you lose, you start blaming somebody else, then you don't have what it takes to be in this job.
Oh, my gosh. The Democrats want to pretend none of that ever happened, that Rose Garden speech. You're whining before they get... You mean like Jerry Nadler was just whining about the 2020 election? You mean like that guy? And then you're blaming someone else. You mean like Jerry Nadler, Shady Schiff, and Nancy Pelosi blaming the Russians, the Ukrainians, or Hillary Clinton, Macedonian server farms. I mean, Hillary Clinton had I forgot all the blame she's placed on everyone else but her for losing the election. She couldn't even find Wisconsin on a map. Again, none of this matters anymore because when Obama said that, no, we meant it then, we just don't mean it now. Why? Because you never meant it at all. Because you have no principles. I thought